Waste for sustainability. Waste management to support sustainable development. Even if we wish it didn't, waste exists. This podcast is about turning this reality into an opportunity for sustainable development. Waste for Sustainability is the voice of the French waste sector to promote sound waste management around the world, together with the transition to a more lean and circular economy. Why does it matter? Because what we do on one side of the planet affects climate, biodiversity, and health everywhere. We will have two guests today to share their perspectives on the challenges and opportunities to recover energy from wastes as part of the circular economy. And we will start with Fabrice Juquois. Fabrice is the task team leader for the French Development Agency, the Urban Planning Department. So Fabrice, can you tell us in just a few words how AFD actually contributes to Waste for Sustainability?
It's an international financial institution, a bank, that makes loans in order to help developing countries and less advanced countries to develop their economy in an inclusive way and in the line of the Paris Agreement. So each year we provide 12 billion loans to more than 100 countries in order to finance sustainable infrastructure. And myself, I have the pleasure to work in the urban division and to finance solid waste infrastructure in 6 countries.
Thank you so much for sharing this. Could you give us an overview of the different ways in which energy can actually be recovered from waste?
In order to recovering energy from waste, it requires to understand 2 points. The first is the type of waste you are dealing with. You have, most of the time we can take 2 big categories, the organic waste, which is wet waste, and the dry waste, which is non-organic waste most of the time, but that can be sold by water and by organic matter. And secondly, the local context is very important because you have to know in which country you are working in. Is it a less advanced country? Is it a developing country? You cannot install a very complex infrastructure in a country where there is a lack of capacity. Let's do it step by step. Other important things is there a market for what you will recycle, what you will produce? Is there a market for the energy that you will produce? And a market for the energy is, for instance, the accessibility to energy networks. Is there a grid for electricity? Is there pipe for it? And also, is there a cement factory, for instance, to burn refuse-derived fuel near the facility? The choice of the treatment, the technical treatment you will use, depends on those items. There are 4 main types of treatment. The first one is methanization. The second one, waste-to-energy plants, also called incinerators, with heat recovery systems. Third one is the production of refuse-derived fuel, with the soiled plastic that will be agglomerated and can be burned in cemetery. And the fourth one is the landfill gas recovery and the biomethane subsequent valorization. Depending on the characteristic of the waste to be treated, one of the other type of treatment is more adapted. For instance, you will, for organic waste, you can recycle it in an anaerobic digester to produce biogas which can be reused as a source of heat, can be used as a source of electricity, and can be used directly in the truck that will be used by a municipality to collect the waste. If the waste received is correctly sorted upstream and if the incoming material is relatively homogeneous, the digestate can be recovered as an agricultural amendment too. So it's a complete recycling. Otherwise, a non-agricultural alternative or a thermal recovery must be put into place in order to eliminate this matter. Second category, if we talk about dry waste, which has a big high calorific value, it's very good to use it for thermal recovery in waste-to-energy plants or by producing RDF. RDF, refuse-derived fuel, I just explained it. It's for the boiler or the industrial processes, just as cement plant. For such technologies, the tricky part is not so much the incinerator or boiler, but the flue gas treatment to prevent air pollution. It's more than half of the cost and more than 9/10 of the volume in a factory. Very impressive to see. Third category, the mixed waste. So the mixed waste stored in state-of-the-art engineered landfill produce biomethane mixed with other gases. It's important not to let this biomethane and the other gases flow in the atmosphere because, as you may know, biomethane has 24 times more power to heat the atmosphere to change the climate than CO2. So it's a very big stakes here. So the best is to collect the gas and to produce heat and electricity. In order to illustrate those points, I can give you some examples. The first one is in Jaipur, in India. It's a country where the humidity in the air is like 0%. 50 degrees Celsius outside, so it's very easy to dry matter in this context. There is in this country a high proportion of dry inorganic waste that increase with the degree of development of the country, and a high capacity counterpart. The fabrication of RDF directly on the landfill site by a cement factory operator to be burned afterward in a cement factory was a good way to eliminate waste.
Can you explain what you mean with high capacity counterpart? Maybe?
Sorry.
Yeah.
What we call a counterpart is countries we are making loans to. Second example, in Togo, there is a less advanced country, there is a big proportion of waste. So the first example would not be relevant there. We have a counterpart with medium capacity. And what we choose is to go step by step with this counterpart. We choose first to work on the collection of the waste, then to close the existing unsanitary landfill, then to create new cells, sanitary cells, and then to work on energy, on the sales with landfill gas, which is the simplest method to produce energy with solid waste. And on top of this, on the existing, on the closed and remediated unsanitary landfill, we are intending creating a solar photovoltaic plant that will produce electricity that is needed badly in the country.
Now, with the type of role you have, Could you give us some insights on the elements you pay attention to when you see projects that you have to review?
They require the following 5 success factors to be taken into account. The first one is a good knowledge of the incoming material, quantity and quality, and its consistency with the chosen valorization process. The second point is the ability to mobilize financing both in terms of capital investment and to support operational costs. That's very important because us, we are here to make loans to finance capital expenditure, but we don't have the capacity to give little financing all along the 30 years lifespan of the industrial installation. So this must be taken into consideration, and the country has to think how it will raise tax in order to pay for this public service. Regarding capital investment, that the different technologies mentioned cover a wide range of cost per ton of waste with approximately a factor of 10. On one hand, incineration with energy recovery and state-of-the-art flue gas treatment. It costs a lot, and it requires to have very high volume in order to be relevant. It's an advanced industrial process, and it cannot be transferred in terms of technology in a simple manner to a less advanced counterpart. It requires industrial capacity.
Yeah.
On the other hand, state-of-the-art landfill gas production is quite easy. You have the landfill that is covered, the gas are collected in a pipe, the pipe is going to a kind of gas engine, and that will produce electricity and heat. It's really state-of-the-art, managed by all the countries in the world technology. Regarding operational and maintenance costs, typically the sales of the energy produced does not allow to cover the full operational cost. You don't have to dream about waste that produce money. Waste costs money. But energy production is something that will help you reduce the operational expenditure in your process, so it's something to be considered. Not only for its benefit for environment and climate, but also for part of the OPEX you will have to cover. Third point, a good understanding of the market and its constraint to the valorization of the energy produced and the co-products resulting from treatment. The constraints can be on volume, on quality, on the capacity to absorb peak production or gaps in production. You can, if you don't take into account the context of a country, of a city, you can, for instance, invest in a RDF production facility that will have no customer, or that will have customer far away, that it will cost you more to transport your RDF than if you had chosen another way of valorize the resource. First point, the guarantees on the price and condition of energy sales, the contract. So it's good to produce electricity if you have, for instance, a grid on site, but if there is no national or local legislation to buy the electricity produced, your electricity will not be lost, but will not be a plus for your project and will not reduce your operational expenditure. Ultimately, you need competent personnel, and that's not a small point, because it's difficult to find qualified people, and in 90% of the case, in less advanced country, you will have to train the major part of the people that will work in the new landfill.
What I've heard you say is that you pay attention to 5 key success factors in the projects that you see coming to your desk.
Yes.
The first one is making sure your counterpart or client has a good understanding of its waste, its composition, that it has the ability to finance both the CapEx and the OpEx, the operational costs. Third point is a good understanding of the energy market and its constraints. Associated to that third point is the fourth point is having guarantees on your price. So it's about the business model itself.
Yes.
And the fifth one, very important, the human part, competent staff to run the facilities. So thank you very much for articulating these 5 success factors. Could you maybe share an example of a project where you've seen these success factors at play?
So I will talk again about the project AFD is financing in Togo. The idea of this project is to recover biogas from a landfill and produce photovoltaic electricity thanks to the plant that will be installed above the remediated and closed former unsanitary landfill. We can identify the following success factor. First of all, this project was led step by step. It's not one loan, it's 5 consecutive loans. The first one is about collecting the waste and allow the municipality to possess engine that will allow her to make a proper collection of the waste. The second was to close the old unsanitary landfill. The third phase was to work on new cells and to create a sanitary landfill. And then we have begun working on energy, trying to recover, to install the pipe into the new cell of the landfill before it is covered by waste, and to collect the landfill gas in order to produce energy and also to produce more electricity. It's a very sustainable project that has taken very well into account the specificity of the country and of the counterpart. That's how we can build a sustainable project.
Thank you very much for sharing all these insights. So our second guest today is Caroline Schall. Caroline is in charge of public affairs and international cooperation projects for SICTOM. SICTOM is the public authority managing the waste of 7 million people in the Greater Paris.
Right.
Caroline, can you tell us in a few words how SICTOM contributes to waste for sustainability?
Alors, SICTOM is a public organization, as you know, and we contribute to, in the Greater Paris, to sustainability through the way we implement waste management. We implement waste management in the name of 82 cities in Paris and around. And we are working with waste-to-energy units and sorting centers. We hope to be able, in 2026, to treat separately organic waste in a new unit to produce local biogas. We have the duty to supply, to produce energy, and this energy is produced by the waste, and this energy is given to the local energy networks.
Do you want to share a few words on your international work?
Yes, of course. Since few years now, SICTOM tries to contribute at the international level through our cooperation on specific projects. I have conducted with colleagues some project in Philippines, in Serbia, probably in Pakistan. Our aim is to help public authorities in foreign countries to define their needs and to imagine tailor-made solutions for waste treatment and waste elimination. Elimination, because in some countries the first step is to eliminate, for sanitary reasons, the waste they try to collect. In the Sikkim territory, we send usually a very small amount of waste to a very nearby landfill, probably less than 6%. Some years we send a little bit more if we have too many strikes, for example. But if we don't have too many strikes, we burying less than 6% usually. But there again, the purpose is to recover as energy as much as possible.
Your facilities are all very large. What do you say on the question of scale for these waste to energy approaches? And there's the question also of the technological lock-in that comes up quite often, saying that getting into a technology might deter stakeholders to improve prevention and recycling. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on this.
It is a very old debate. I think that is an old debate, and this question is not fashionable anymore, because few years ago we heard at the European level in other occasions that, of course, if we transform waste into energy, we won't be able to conduct reduction policies or everything. It's not true. It's totally untrue. Because public authorities have a mission. Their mission is to collect, first of all, the waste. And we don't choose the waste we collect. People buy different products, they consume them, and after that, they produce waste. And we have to do something with this waste. So, unfortunately, as long as the market will produce non-easily recyclable or reusable materials, we will need to eliminate or valorize, in eating or something else, the waste that are collected. We can't do anything more. You know, Corinne, the problem is that eco-design will probably solve a lot of problems. But the research about eco-design takes a long time. Of course, it's up to the private sector to find solutions to produce more recyclable, more reusable products. But they are also facing an important economic constraints to change their models. So it will take a long time. And during this time, what could we do except valorize the waste into something? And we have chosen, because we had the opportunity to produce heating and electricity.
And you also invest in prevention massively, I understand.
Yes, of course. And, we spent a lot of money on that topic. We spend around 20 million euro every year in campaigns and in door-to-door information. It's a lot of money. Unfortunately, I could lie and tell you that because of our action, because of all this money, we have reduced the amount of waste we are treating. But it would be a lie, of course. The link between our actions and the quality of sorting and the amount of waste is not very clear. It's not so easy to prove it. There is a steady decline of waste, of course, light but steady, and but we don't know if it is because we have made beautiful campaigns or because it's the results of the economic crisis. We really don't know that. The fact is that the volume of waste collected has fallen by between 5 and 10% during the last years. Through our international activity or international actions and cooperations, the key point is how different public authorities can act on the right scale. Of course, in France, on the Sictom territory and in other parts of France, cities and have decided to act together and to develop infrastructures and to use the produce of taxes to build stronger and larger facilities. So in the other part of the world, except Europe, except some other lucky countries, it's not the fact. And public authorities are really alone facing the waste management. And small countries, small cities, small regions, as they have no idea and no possibility to act together and to find common solutions. We used to say that the loneliness of the local public authorities is terrible because they have no references. Most of the time they don't receive any help from their government because this government have a lot of problems. And the question of waste management is always the last. That's why we think that planning is one of the most important point, and also the good definition of the needs. Once these two topics are put on the table, you can begin to work with these local authorities. If this job is not done, it is impossible to imagine the famous tailor-made solutions.
Yeah. From listening to you, I understand that the answer to the question regarding the technological lock-in is not a real question, as long as we are able to plan at territorial level.
We think so.
With the right partnerships between different local authorities to consolidate their effort. Thank you. Now, we didn't touch on the size, on the question of size of facilities. Would you like to share some thoughts on that?
Yes. There is a debate between people thinking that only large facilities have to be built, and others are sometimes talking about the advantage of small facilities. Small is beautiful, but not always about with waste management, because if you build a small facilities, the need of environmental conditions is the same. You have to be as strictly the compliance with the international framework, with the best practices is the same.
Yeah.
Even if you build a small facilities or very big one. And the cost, for instance, of treatment fumes is the same in a small facility than in a larger one. So that's why sometimes it is better to think about how to to make the different cities working together, if possible, if they are very close from each other, of course, because small facilities could be more expensive if you have to build many of them. But in some countries, we saw that in the east of the Europe, when the cities are very far away from each other, it would be more interesting to imagine dedicated small solutions. Some of them are very technological, some of them are not. But in France we are lucky also because we have a lot of startups developing some small treatment solutions with very good, with beautiful treatment fumes or environmental conditions, and we think that France could export some of these solutions.
Okay, excellent. We'll have to hear more about this, but not today.
Yes, next step.
Thank you very much. I think this is something that we really want to emphasize as a message from FSWP, the role of the public authority in organizing and giving the direction on how
always and everywhere.
So we're getting to the conclusion. What would you like to share with our listeners as conclusion words?
Of course, our main activity is energy recovery in the Sikkim territory. But we think that energy recovery and all solutions comes at a cost to those who are responsible for it. You can imagine all the solutions you want. You can imagine that international banks will help the countries to build infrastructures, but at the end, the local authority will have to pay for them. So, if you are optimistic, we are. If we are trustful, we are also. Every ton of waste to be treated is a cost, but in the future, every ton of waste not produced represents a saving. I think that the French Solid Waste Partnership has to promote this conviction, but in the same time we know how it is hard to develop because the problem of the cost remains the most important.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Caroline. We're getting to the end. Thank you, Fabrice,
welcome.
Also for both for your insights, and thank you to our listeners. In the future podcast, we will dive into more details into the topic of financing, and we invite you to follow us on Apple Podcast, YouTube, and Spotify.